Okay, everyone, thank you for that. We have a quorum. I don't think there's anyone. The Mayor's gone, but he'll be back, I presume, or not. We'll move on to the last topic of the day, Environmental Sustainability Initiatives Stock Take. So just preempt this item by saying that this is, and the staff will talk to it, that this is not about our strategy for sustainability or whether we should have one or anything like that, or even the principles. It's about the results of the stock take. So we're not here to debate any of these sustainability principles. Because it's late in the day, I won't be taking any questions on such. If you are uncertain about the background to the sustainability principles and you would like some more information, the staff will take that offline with you and meet. And it might be a good thing to do, but not today. We're talking about the results. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, so just by way of very short introduction, as Councillor Paul has said, the stock take is really capturing the initiatives that we have done over the last, in this case, 18 months, relating to sustainability. This is the third such stock take that we've done, and this is largely consistent with the draft report that was circulated on the 9th of November, and I've answered a couple of sort of questions about that offline, and I'm happy to take any other questions on the report now.
Okay, thank you. Fairly straightforward, wasn't it? Councillor Henry.
I've got him before somebody else. I'm excited. Look, great stock take. Couple of questions on the energy efficiency. We do not have an eco design advice anymore, do we?
No, that position has now been vacant, or vacated, should I say. I'm not sure if that position is going to be refilled or not.
If it doesn't get refilled, are we going backwards? Because this is an extremely important position, don't you think?
I guess that's a matter of opinion that we probably aren't in a position to answer.
It's a bit of a leading question,
okay,
but I think no, I think it can. Jen can talk to that at some stage because she's going to come back to us. I don't know if she's in the room. I can't see that far behind. Okay. She's going to come back to us in terms of what's going to happen with that vacant position. So that would be a time to address that.
Okay, there's just then one question. The EDA completed 485 customer interactions, in-home consultations, and held 49 eco-workshops between January 2017 and June 2018. That's quite a big workload, and I'm just wondering who is going to do anything similar, or anybody filling in the gap in the meantime, or
Yeah, so it's probably the same answer to the previous question, that will be reliant on what happens with that role.
Yeah, okay. The other question is on the waste, on the last one of the stock take, heavy metals, reducing leachates and heavy metals. And we're putting some into our water that comes with heavy metals, that comes with lead, arsenic and cadmium. So how are we going to reduce that? And I won't mention the name. Hydrofluorosilicic acid, it's called.
What page are you on?
I'm on page, 154. The last one on waste.
Oh, so so just on page 154. So those are I guess the themes that we've as a way we've tried to categorise some of the initiatives, and so as through the rest of the stock take through the document, we talk about the various initiatives we're taking under each of those categories. So in waste, for example, you'll see through the rest of the document various initiatives that are categorised as waste-related initiatives.
Yeah.
I think it's probably worth making the point that some of these initiatives aren't mutually exclusive. They fit into a number of different categories.
Okay.
On the issue of the leachates and heavy metals specifically, I think Eva-Lisa can probably help provide some context for that.
If I can, through the chair, so those are related to our trade waste discharges and our our closed landfills that still have leachate that discharge into our system. So it's actually having a process in place that we look at how we're monitoring and reducing those entering our system.
To that one, can I just ask one more question? As I heard a few years ago that a lot of the, especially, oh golly, what's it called again? From the dentist's waste, have we done something so the dentists actually put good filters in that does not go into our waterways anymore, especially the mercury?
Yes, that's a requirement of the trade waste consent, and I think the good practice with dentists now is to recover those in a different way rather than putting them down our sinks as they used to
Fabulous.
be.
Thank you. Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Mallett?
Thank you. The way the report's written, it says what we're trying to do, and then it says a list of things we've done, I think, my reading of it. And maybe this is difficult to do, but there's sort of no achieved, nearly got there. There's no measurements. There's talk of what we've done, and that's quite well written, and so it's pretty clear as to the things we've done. But are the things we've done been satisfactory to achieve a goal or to get to a certain sustainable level in things?
Yeah, just in relation to that, we have had a discussion around how we measure the impact of these things at the briefing on the 13th of November, I think it was. And so where and you might recall we've had sort of a similar discussion at this committee sort of last year. Where we got to with that was working with some of the central government agencies, so Treasury, Stats New Zealand, and DIA, for example, are working on sort of these national measurement frameworks. And when I say national frameworks, they're looking at measures which can be done nationally but can be applied locally, and that's across a sort of more holistic view of essentially well-being. So it's looking at changes to the Local Government Act and those 4 well-beings, one of them being environmental well-being. And so what we've done from a measurement point of view is say, let's try and align whatever we want to do with that work so that we're not essentially reinventing the wheel or not trying to create something which is being created at that national level. Okay. So, yeah.
For example, an example would be, we're trying to reduce rubbish to landfill, so we do a lot of sorting at the home or the industry. Yeah. But so we sort out our plastics and all this, but the plastics can't. China's not taking plastics anymore, so we're just taking them back to the landfill or something like that. So you don't sort of square the circle off, or
So I mean that's probably a good example of where we do have measures in place, and we report those back through.
Do it in here?
Through the Finance Committee, through the 10-year plan reporting. So we do have specific measures and targets in relation to the 10-year plan for some of those things. So that waste to landfill, recycling, etc. are part of that. One that is in here is our energy usage and our percentage of energy which is sustainable.
That's the City Council as an entity's energy usage. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, there are some things where we have measured things in here which we have identified. That one, I think we've we have increased the percentage of the energy we get from renewable sources from 52 to 55% over the course of the last, I think, 6 years. So there is some progress in that measure.
Did that come at a cost, or did that come at a saving? Sorry, I didn't read that bit.
I think I couldn't say definitively.
No, I'm not. I would have to get back to you on that one. Sorry.
Okay, that's in this report, is it?
The energy savings are in here. I can find a page reference for you if you give me a second.
But the bit where it goes from 55 to 57 or something.
On page 165, at the bottom of page 165.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so... Okay, you sort of don't tell the whole picture because you don't know what cost it took to get to there.
No, we haven't included that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Marae Tapora.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Great and very detailed report. I've just got one question, which is on page 151, point 11 under cultural considerations. We talk about that. You've had cultural input from iwi and mana whenua and considered the Waikato Tainui environmental plan objectives and policies, yet nothing's detailed in the report or even alluded to in the report. Why?
I think as far as aspects like, for instance, integrated catchment management planning,
Yeah.
and City Waters may want to comment on that, but I mean there is, I think, reference in there to that sort of side of things in terms of the dealings with iwi and the likes of that.
Yeah.
And same with the biodiversity strategy. You've made mention of it in there as well.
And that's the extent of the input that's been given by iwi and mana whenua. The sense that I get from reading that, and I understand what's actually in the report itself, is that we got some and we put a little bit, and I just want to clarify what that means under cultural considerations exactly.
So I think the cultural considerations are probably, we haven't specified how we have made those cultural considerations with each of the initiatives listed, but it's sort of implicit that when we have undertaken a number of these things, that has been a feature. So we haven't gone through and specified, for example, where we've consulted with mana whenua or considered the views of iwi or tangata whenua, things like that in the initiatives.
But are we actually looking at the outcome of when you did consult or you did speak to them? Otherwise, what that says to me is that that's a tick box in the cultural consideration if it's not implemented. If what has been given hasn't been implemented in there. I'm talking about the extent to what the input was from iwi mana whenua.
So it varies by the different
Yeah.
initiatives, and without sort of going through every initiative individually, it's sort of hard to give a very sort of detailed answer on that. I think some initiatives, for example, the biodiversity strategy had a large degree of cultural input. Others would have had less so.
So maybe can I help in advance this? This will come up for next review in the next term, won't it? It's not due for review. A lot of this was, as a report, was designed before the current positions, the Māngai positions and so on. It would really be awesome to tap into where you're going with that thinking. I'm wondering if we can set up a process for you to be involved, so that this can have some continual improvement in the way that that's both reflected and measured in here. I think, because what the questions you're asking are very valid and very relevant, I would dare say they've been given more profile and process now. There is lots of good things happening, but it is a little all over. So would you be happy to do
Absolutely,
that?
happy to provide any sort of help along the way. I think this was brought up in may have been one of the GNI hui with Māngai Norm brought up how we articulate ourselves around the cultural considerations. I think it may even be just a point to consider, because it also says in another sense that the input that is given is actually valued.
Yeah.
And then just
Yeah.
a note really.
So a number of elements there, and we'll take an action point on
Yeah.
that. Did you have any other questions at this
No,
time?
no, thank you.
Councillor Tooman.
Page 159, which is dealing with your LED lights, and I reckon they're brilliant. But I was watching a program it was either on Animal Planet or Discovery Channel, I can't remember which one it was now, whereby these LED lights are actually having an effect on the reproductive cycle of fish. And now reading this, it says that we've got warm white. Is that the one which is affecting all the mammals and with their circadian rhythms and all that sort of stuff?
So my understanding, and I might get someone else to comment further on this, is that we started off with one kind of LED light, and then we have since changed because of the effect on bats and birds, insects, etc., because of that circadian rhythm. So I think the warm white light that we talked about was more like daytime, and so that actually affected those circadian rhythms. And so I think we have since changed the type of lights that we're installing to ones which are less intrusive for our.
So it has no effect on the humans then, being mammals?
It has a positive effect on humans, I think, in terms of. Oh, actually, sorry, I might be talking about stuff I don't really know that much about now.
Neither do I.
Okay,
I was talking
Tooman,
more
we
about the
will,
social effect on humans of having good lighting in the city.
Councillor Tooman will give you an action point over the summer holidays to find out about LED lights, fish and humans. There you go. That's your job. Thank you very much. Councillor Mallett.
And just following off question about cultural stuff, how do you factor that into, and I'm pretty happy to say that I can't figure it out, how do you factor that into sustainability and rubbish disposal, sewage treatment? They know no race, do they, those things?
So with the principles and the stock take, although a number of the initiatives reflect cultural considerations, we have.
So give us some examples. What's a cultural? Show me an example of a cultural consideration.
I'll get to that in a sec. I guess the point I sort of wanted to make first was that these initiatives are meant to reflect the environmental sustainability. So this stock take is a stock take of essentially environmental sustainability initiatives. So some of those initiatives, in carrying them out, have a cultural component to them, but we haven't, for example.
E.g.?
So I think I mentioned the biodiversity, local Indigenous biodiversity strategy, and that's something which came to this committee in October, and that's had an external advisor network as well as an internal network, and the external network included.
Is this where we prefer to have native trees and things? Is this what you?
Okay,
is that what
so
you
we're
mean?
getting a little bit off track now.
No, we're
Remember
not.
that? No.
Is that what you mean?
Excuse me, Councillor Mallett. We said at the beginning that we're just going to talk about the outcomes of the stock take. I understand what you're saying, that you'd like to explore that issue a bit further. We've already had undertakings to think harder about that work. Let's not do it here today.
So let's all be ignorant about how we do this. Okay, that's fine. That's good. Yeah, that's the
Okay.
way we should do it. Yeah.
Thank you. Have you got
That'll
any other
work.
questions on the stock take itself? No, you don't. Okay, are there any other questions on the stock take? I do have just a couple quick ones. On page 155 on procurement, can I ask whether where the use of local products, I see the energy efficient, environmentally friendly, longer life and all of those very good things. Local procurement in terms of its, its lower footprint on greenhouse and all of that sort of stuff because it's a local. Is there anything in there? Well, if not, just flag it. And
I'll have to check and get back to you.
okay, thank you. I noticed on page 158, the reference to the ecology monitoring plan that was done for Southern Links development. I haven't seen that specifically. Can we please all have access to that? Because I think it will have relevance coming up in the next short while. So if that could be circulated, that would be really good. In terms of the transport on page 160, sorry,
Yep.
where you talk about the environmental sustainability indicators around transport, there are a number of things here: assisting in air produce and easing congestion at school gates and promoting active trips to preschool. Those are all outputs, and I was just wondering whether we would be able to have any outcome data about that. Numbers of active trips for preschoolers, are they on the rise? What is the trend in air pollution at those, especially those points where they're monitored in Hamilton? There's nothing of that in here. So where, how would I be able to access that?
So can I suggest that we, when we're going to doing that work around the measurement of these things as part of those well-beings, that we bring back that to this group in terms of some of those potential measures.
Okay.
So I think the last time we spoke at this committee, we had a number of measures from the regional council produced, which they are able to produce to a Hamilton city level
Yes,
as well.
yeah, I'm aware of that.
And so some of it is around behaviour, like number of uses of public transport and those kinds of things, but also some of it is around the, I guess, the effect on the environment. So the air quality and carbon emissions and those kinds of things.
Okay, thank
So
you.
there's probably a range of things that we can look at.
I'll probably make a couple of comments, high-level comments in my debate, but just two more questions, please bear with. The second to last is on page 169, just in respect to events. Would we expect, given that the Waste Task Force group, now chaired by Councillor Henry, has put a lot of focus on events and waste management at events, would we expect potentially that to be translated into this stock take in the future? Or how do we do that? When do we do that? Do we do it when we review the principles, or do we do it when we review the actions? Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, so I guess the stock take is a retrospective view, so it's actually saying, I guess it's having a look at what we have done.
So when will we be able to put something new in, something like what events?
So if we are doing events over the course of the next year, then that would be reflected in next year's
Okay.
stock take.
Okay, let's have a look at that. And the last thing, just on page 171, you see that Hamilton City Council is a partner in Project Halo, which it has been on and off since the beginning of the project. How are we partnering with Project Halo at this point in time? I'm interested, maybe not everyone else is, but love to hear something about that at some point. What is it we're actually doing?
Is anyone here that can speak to Project Halo at this point?
Okay.
If not, we can bring
Yeah,
some information
thank
back
you.
on that.
Thank you. Okay, so that's that then. Any other questions? We're going to go into debate. Is there any debate or discussion? Councillor Henry.
Look, thank you for the great report. I feel very heartened by what's happening. And I looked at some great initiatives like the Honeybee Project and recycling household batteries. There's more things, but every little small thing has got a major impact. The sludge being broken down through vermicomposting, love that. Using biogas that's generated at the wastewater treatment plant, and making Hamilton Gardens carbon neutral in 2030. So fabulous, and plus all the other, the many transport initiatives. So very exciting to look into the future of what we're doing there. But what I'm really sad is that we do not have eco-design advice. Actually, I was amazed the other day when I heard about it, and I don't know what happened, but I just believe Hamilton City Council does need that an eco-design advisor. It's such an important position, and because I mean what we just read, what he's done, the work he's done, and to help people, the community, to first of all have warmer, healthier homes, educate them, going into the homes and talking to people on a one-on-one. This is such a good picture for us, for our council, and then doing many workshops on that subject as well. So plus I believe he might have had some input, or that would be something that has maybe not has happened into the planning of healthier homes, so that our property developers do build more healthier homes. And this is who is going to advise our planners on that. So I just think this is such an important position that we can't let go, because personally I feel if we haven't got that position in our council, we are going backwards, and that's the last thing we want to do. We want to move forward. This is very strong. I love the stock take, but without an eco-design advisor, I don't know what we're going to do. So I'll look forward to hearing where we're going from here and what the possibilities are. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a few quick comments from myself. I thought this was fantastic, and thanks to there's a lot of work that sits underneath this. The only one area which I'd like to, two areas improvement is the action point that we've already discussed around cultural considerations to give them more visibility and transparency in here, because you can't know what you're doing until you see it. The other thing is that and Gary's gone, but I agreed in part with him about, in some instances in the report in the second column, outputs and outcomes are a little mixed up. You have to kind of read through the report and go, well, that's an output, but that's actually an outcome. That's great. Because I was originally saying to you, Sean, that I was going to look at the biodiversity because I had some questions. Then I reread it and I thought, well, mixed up in all those outputs of what we're doing, there are some outcomes, like the numbers of trees, the number of schools we visit, etc., etc. And I wonder if there isn't a possibility going forward for the next time that we see this, whether it's a red, green, yellow, orange, amber light thing, or whether it's just another column which does pick out some of the key outcomes. I think that would add value for me anyway, in terms of knowing whether we're hitting the nail on the head. And the other part I would like to know in the new year, when we're all not so tired and we're back from our holidays, is when and if the sustainability principles get reviewed, and how we keep our eye on actions that might come into it. Like I've mentioned a couple, events being one, for example, that we need to understand. Events and waste management, that is, sorry. Okay, so we don't need to answer those now. Those are points which I think can improve this into the new year. And there'll be a number of people around this table who'd be quite happy to work with staff on that as well. So, thank you very much. We didn't move it, did we? No. We've spoken about it now, but we did not move it, but Ziggy's going to move it. And seconder? Thank you. Supporter? Brilliant. Thank you. All in favour? Opposed? Carried. And thank you, councillors. Thank you. It's been a long day, but thank you very much. And to those who I won't see, have a fantastic break.